right, the next thing is to have a standardized report request change process and central intake of report requests. So if someone is requesting data, have a place where they can request that data so it gets managed, and then templates for filling in those report specs. Now that can be done through a ticketing system. It can be done using Word docs or spreadsheets. We have a whole workflow for that. Ideally, also then incorporate your data stewards in the process. So as part of that request, if there's questions by the developer or questions by the requester, or what you're building is something that sort of has never been done before and needs approval, incorporate those stewards in that process. Have them sign off on the specs, or have them have a way to contact them as you're building things. The other thing I already talked about before is to create a data quality resolution process. So create a step where if someone sees data quality issues, that they can report that issue. This shouldn't be just about fixing the issue, but it should also be about finding the root cause of the problem. So there's lots of ways to do this. I encourage taking sort of a first step process, which is just like an advisor, just having a way to submit a question. But if you want to get more advanced, we have a full workflow within the cookbook for data quality resolution and issue reporting and data quality assessments. And I've stated this, like I feel like it is more often than not the case that data quality is a major barrier to people using the data. But if people started reporting the data quality issues and there was a certain amount of assessment into the scope of the problem and what the cause of the problem are, I think they would find out that more often than not that there isn't as much of a data quality issue as people think. There are other factors affecting them around the numbers being wrong, more about definition and implementation than the data quality. Now that's not to say there aren't real data quality issues, but it doesn't matter how big the problem is in reality or not if you don't have a way to assess it and show that you're working it. So creating this system may not actually result in a whole lot of data cleanup work. It may more often result in just validating that the data is okay and getting to what the real issue is with the report or the numbers, or saying, yep, no, that's right, that's how many people we have, or yeah, there you go. So the next thing in the process is to make your knowledge base easily shared and accessible. So take the, whatever you're doing in this knowledge base, don't lock it up, in IT or in behind some, super secret internal intranet or whatever, but make it as available as possible to those who need to understand how to do self-service reporting or how to understand the data that they're seeing. Share it with developers and stewards and users and all of that. In theory, this should just be metadata. It shouldn't have any actual data in there, so it should be something that you can make pretty widely available. If you are doing that and you make that available and you have your knowledge base out there, then you can build links from your whatever the reporting tool is back into that knowledge base. So even if it's just a Word document repository or something, most of the time that can be available on the internet, or you can physically have an attachment of a PDF or some other explanation, or give someone the ability to access that detail. In our cookbook, we actually have APIs and integrations from the reporting tools back to the spec. So if you have a detailed spec that, if you've created a specification for a report that you've built in Tableau, you can link back to that. So I think I've got an example of that here. Is that going to open? There you go. So here's a Tableau public report. I have in the cookbook I've documented what my applicant saved by program is. Here's a link that calls my API. It pops that information up. Right? I don't have to log into the cookbook or anything. I could detail in and go down into the cookbook. We have single sign-in to go see the actual spec and the details of it, and all that information. But if I don't have to be a user of the cookbook to see that information with the API. So we've got building that knowledge base, storing it in that central area, doing it in certain ways, having it approved and signed off on and maintained, and then having links from the reporting tool back really helps build that trust and use. Lastly, start small but think big. This can be daunting to build out that warehouse and to create all this information, but you sort of, as my wife says to our kids, you worry about you, like do your part, and then that'll create excitement over people who are seeing the information, that being able to link and get the doc, and people who are then building reports will want to do that as well. So it's the same with that Wikipedia model: give before taking, sort of that'll blossom into a feast of information. And